Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. This week I'm going to be going into more detail about my story of being confronted within myself of do I trust God or do I trust money? And to go a little bit further than that, do I pursue God or do I pursue money? So just to give a really quick, brief backstory to that, at this time, I had just finished my undergrad at Biola University, and then I took about 4.5 years, so I'm fully done with school. And this just so happened I ended up finishing fall semester. But I was fully done with school, all my units and everything were set, complete, done. But I would be actually walking in spring. So during this time, I'm done with school, I'm back at my mom's house. I'm not even thinking about a job after those 4.5 years because I'm just trying to relax. It's a long finals, everything, just finishing everything up. I'm just like, I'm excited I accomplished this, but I need a break from school, which is very common amongst students. So I was fully done. So at this time, it's winter break, and I'm basically playing video games, just trying to decompress my mind, not even concerned about a job currently at that time. So that's just a really brief backstory to that. So with all that being said, traditionally speaking, now this is very common, but this doesn't apply to every single man. But traditionally speaking, which can be common for most men are taught to, myself included, as I was growing up, we're taught to be providers. And with that, how it all plays out is you're taught from an early age. You go to school, you do what you got to do, you do these different type of things, and then once all that's done, you get a good job. You get a good paying job to not only provide for yourself, but to be at a certain point in time that you'll be able to provide for your future wife and your household. So that's what we're taught as men. We're taught to get a good paying job, go to school, get a good paying job to take care of your future family. That's what we're taught. We're taught to be providers. And I was no different. That's how I grew up. That's how I grew up. It's okay, yeah. Man's supposed to provide, you need to get a good paying job and stuff like that to provide for my future family. And at this time, my wife now, Ashley, we were kind of talking about it, but we weren't quite there yet in terms of discussing marriage and stuff like that. But nonetheless, it was in the back of our minds. So with all that being said, that's also suddenly in my psyche at this time. But I'm not really too focused on it because I'm done with finals. It's the least of my concerns right now. So I'm at home, relaxing, decompressing my mind, not even worried about a job. I needed a break. So first week passed by, and okay, it's going fine, it's going great, it's not too bad and everything like that. It's super chill. Then the second week goes by, and then I'm like, okay, second week hits, and I'm like, 2 weeks is passing. Normally around this time, as this is wrapping up, I'm getting ready to go back to school. I'm getting ready to go back into the motion of things, and now I'm not doing that anymore because I'm done with school. So now, this is the first time, in a very tangible way, I'm confronted with tradition. In the sense of, I need to get a job. It's the back of my mind. Let alone, but I'm not the most concerned about it quite yet, but still I'm confronted with this, I need to get a job at some point. But I'm trying to put it back, trying to push it back, like I don't want to think about it right now, but nonetheless, it's still in my mind of, I need to get a job. What am I going to do for work? Because if I want to marry Ashley in the future, I need to get a good paying job, and let alone if I want to go to my mom's house, if I want to provide for myself and do the things I want to do for myself, I need to get a good paying job. Now the challenge with this is, I had not realized that my entire life in this particular area was banked on tradition. And let me expound on that a little bit. Traditionally speaking, a man is taught to be a provider, to provide all those things as I mentioned before. But what happens when a good-hearted, not bad at all, makes a lot of sense, tradition gets in the way of the Lord and what He's telling me to do? See, for me, I was so focused on, when it got to that certain point, on fulfilling this tradition, that I hadn't quite really prayed to God about it. See, my whole journey through Biola, I was praying to God. I was being led by the Lord. I ended up switching my major because I felt that urge, that urgency from the Lord to, you need to switch. You need to change. So up until this point, I've been pursuing God, and not that I fell off from the Lord or anything like that, but I was trusting God with my decisions. But when it came to this area of finances, of getting a job and those type of things, I wasn't quite praying about it. It wasn't, let alone, it wasn't a concern of mine at the time. Because I'm like, I'm not even concerned about work right now. I just want to relax. But nonetheless, in my mind, it wasn't something that I prayed about. Because I'm like, in my mind, oh, I just got to get a job. I was going to go get a job. That was what was in my mind. So when the time came, I'm at home, I'm hanging out, doing my thing. Then, naturally speaking, questions start to come. Hey man, so you ever thought about where you're gonna work? Oh no man, and just and the questions start to come. Hey, what are you gonna what do you do for work? And what are you gonna do? Are there any possibilities here? Could you work there? What about him? What about her? Like, could you work for them? Could you do this? And then oh no, I don't know, figure it out. I don't know, figure it out. And just the back and forth is very, at this time, it's very very cordial, very just hey, just asking, like, okay, just very relaxed, more or less, where it's not necessarily in this language, of course, as I'm explaining it, but nonetheless, in the gist of this type of thing, like, hey, so are you thinking about getting a job? Just questioning, hey, that type of stuff. Do you have any ideas and that type of thing? And then after little days, weeks, or I don't know how long exactly, but that quickly turned to, not long after that, to, hey, what are you doing? You need to get a job. You need to figure out what you're doing for work. And that came. So, video games, the remote had to be put down, and I had to start thinking about this. And one day, when I took the time to think about it, I can't tell you exactly what day it was, but when it did hit, I was stopped in my tracks in a way I didn't expect. So I'm trying to figure out, I literally have no clear options of where I'm going to work. I have ideas, but I'm like, I could maybe work for them or work here or work there, but it's not clear where I'm supposed to go, because in my heart, I want to get a job that's towards my major, which is natural. I want to get a job that's towards my career, which is ministry, because I had received a degree in Christian ministry, so that's what I'm looking for. So I'm not looking at McDonald's or anywhere like that. I'm looking, where can I go to pursue a job in ministry? And there's some possible options in my mind, but I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. I'm not too sure. It's like, it's back and forth. I'm not too sure what that looks like, and especially what that would look like financially. But then, and I can't necessarily tell you when it hit, but when it hit, I'll never forget. When it hit me, I was stopped in my tracks, as I said before. See, the Lord, He confronted me in a way I hadn't anticipated. There were times in my life, because I grew up in a single-parent home, and my mom raised us on her own. And there's times she had to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, just to provide for us. So there were times where we struggled financially. And during those times, especially when we were Christians, when we became born-again Christians, we definitely had financial struggles. But during those times, when we literally had nothing in the bank, we're like, this is the last bit of money mom has in her purse. We don't know how we're going to survive. This is Monday. How the heck are we going to survive for the rest of the week? God showed Himself faithful every single time. And the beautiful thing about the Lord is, not once did I ever go to bed hungry. Not once. Out of the situation we were in, you would think, dang, like if you understood the full details of the whole situation, I explained it to you, like, wow, how the heck did you guys make it through that? And I can honestly say it was the Lord showing Himself as provider to us. When we needed something, He made it a way. He made a way. He made it possible for us to survive and in some cases thrive through that. So with all that being said, I had seen God as provider before in my life in the past. But, which is common for most people as well, including myself, I was guilty of this. When you're in that state of, let's say for example, poverty, you're struggling financially, right? And you believe if you're a believer, if you trust God, you believe in God, and you're praying to God, I need your help, and I'm dependent on you to make something happen, God, because I just know where it's going to come from. That dependency on the Lord draws you so close to Him in a way of, you're so dependent for every single morsel of food, every single penny, every single thing that you need. And there's that dependency there, because you see, God, I can't do it, only you can do it. But what ends up happening is, after a while, God increases you. Meaning, it gets to a point where it's like, now instead of you trying just to survive, now you start to get ahead. So first, okay, you had money that you needed for your credit card debt. Now God wiped away your debt through providing through your job or promotion, whatever the case may be. So now that's done with. Now you're getting ahead now. Now money that was going towards your credit card debt now is gone. Now that's gone. So now you can do things, whether it be a vacation, whether it be fixing stuff up around the house or doing nice things for your family or for yourself, whatever the case may be. But what the temptation can be there is that the focus comes, which was my case in my family, which was my case, is your focus goes from God as provider when you're in that tight bind to the money or to the affluence or the growth you gain. So then it becomes, you get shifted from that instead of keeping your eyes on the Lord as a provider. So I did not realize up until that point that I saw God as God in my life, but I had lost the truth that He was my provider. So I'm there and I'm working through this. I'm like, okay, I want to get a job, but God, there's nothing that's making any sense. There's no clear path on where I'm supposed to go. Because mind you, up until this point, all the decisions I had made up until that point through my whole career of college, I felt I was led by the Lord. But I prayed, I fasted, and I trust God. And as He was leading me through these decisions, things were made clear. But this was the first situation in a long time things weren't clear. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to work? Am I supposed to call this person up and see if there's any positions at their church or at their ministry? What do I do? And the funny thing that happened was I felt the complete opposite of what I was expecting to do and what everyone else was telling me to do. I felt this, and I'll never forget it. I was like, okay, guys, what am I going to do for work? What am I going to do? And then I just felt so subtly. And it wasn't an audible voice. It wasn't like I heard Him audibly speak in my ear, but I felt it deep down inside of me. Somebody say to me, don't get a job. Don't get a job. And at first, it's one of those things where you ask yourself, God, is that you? Or is that you, Satan? Because that doesn't make sense in my natural thinking. That does not make sense that I don't go get a job. So, and that's so countercultural from what I'm expected to do, and what I think is expected of me to do. Because going back to tradition, if you see how we're supposed to grow up and how we do things, that's what you're expected to do, is to get a good paying job to provide for your family. That's just the natural tradition. That's just common. That's what we're supposed to do. But now I'm going against this tradition that I feel that I'm supposed to do that, and now instead, God, You told me not to do that. So now I'm confronted with this war in myself between following traditions and following what people expect of me and following what God is telling me to do. But the crazy thing about it was, I just embraced it. I embraced it. And mind you, at the time, it wasn't a hard decision because I wasn't feeling the heat yet from family. I wasn't feeling the intense questioning. And I wasn't feeling the opposition that was going to eventually come from me making that decision. I wasn't feeling any of that stuff yet. So it was kind of one of those things. I'm like, God, are you sure? That's kind of weird. I'm like, are you sure? But other than that, I was processing it, but it wasn't something that really rattled me too much when I heard it, though. So it's like, are you sure? Okay. Back to the video games. Just keep on playing my video games. So then weeks start to go by and start to go, and then the questioning starts to become more intense. Once that question starts to become more intense, then that's when I'm like, okay, what did I say yes to, so to speak? Okay, God, you're saying not to get a job. Okay, let me go revisit that now and talk to You about this. So then I'm struggling within myself, and the struggle minded this time was at level 1. This is like child's play, so to speak. This is not even the worst of the worst that I was yet to experience. But I was like, God, I'm feeling depressed. Like, God, what am I supposed to do? And I was confronted with this. Are you going to pursue me? Or are you going to pursue money? When I mean me, I'm referring to God. Are you going to pursue God, which we're called to do as believers? Are you going to pursue God, are going to pursue money, which everyone else is telling you to do, which the traditions in the back of your mind are telling you to do. And that's the crazy thing that we have to be so careful when it comes to traditions. Traditions, typically speaking, whether you have it in your family, whether we see it, it's in our nation, or whatever the case may be, they're not bad. There's nothing wrong with traditions. But where traditions become an issue is when the tradition oversteps and supersedes what God is telling you to do, what God is saying. If God's saying, hey, go to Africa on a mission trip, for example, but then tradition says, no, you need to stay home and do this, because this is what expected to you. This is what your grandpa did, this is what your father did, this is what your uncle did, because that's what you're expected to do. Then the challenge comes thereof, what do you pursue? Where do you go ahead of? And it's a real battle for some of us. It really is. And I totally can sympathize with that, because it was a battle in me. It's the easy answer would be, oh, for sure, oh yeah, go what God tells you to do. But it's a lot easier to say that we're not confronted with something that's been deeply embedded in you all your life up until that point. That's the challenge I found myself in. But yet, there was such a peace in my heart. God, I'm feeling this press from this. And yet I feel I need to pursue what you're telling me to do. So I did. I pursued God. Which was not to get a job. But the hard thing, see, but here's the challenge though. It wasn't like God said don't get a job and he made it clear like, okay, so don't get a job and then do this. Like, okay, so then start working on some business ideas, or start doing what you're doing right, what I'm doing right now. Start recording videos and stuff, start preaching, start trying these different type of things to get you ready for your career. None of that. I had zero indication of what I was supposed to do. Zero. All he simply told me was, don't do that. Don't go get a job. Just pursue me. And pursuing him meant just keep continuing to do what I always did. Praying, reading my Bible, fasting, going to church, just continuing just to pursue him in my daily sacraments towards him. My daily things are just pursuing how I normally pursue God. Spending my time in worship before him, just continue to do these things. But I'm like, God, this doesn't make sense, because normally what I'm expected to do is to start rubbing shoulders with people in terms of, hey, try to network and try to figure out job positions and what I can do in the future, even if it's not a possibility right now. Hey, you never know, this guy can offer me a job sometime down the line. But no. So the challenge from the outside perspective, for example, for my family, is seeing this guy at home all the time playing video games, but you come home from when you're at work or whatever you're doing, you see this guy you come in and just see, looking at him and you're just playing video games, they're like, dude, what are you doing? Get a job. What are you doing? Are you trying to get a job? Like, what are you doing? Figure it out kind of thing. And it makes sense, because on the outside, I'm not pursuing a job, so of course it just looks like I'm doing nothing. It looks like I'm just kicking my feet up and just relaxing. And to be quite frank, I was, because that's what I felt I was supposed to do. I didn't feel the need to go do something in particular. I simply felt in my spirit, stay where you are. And in pursuing God was to stay where I was. Because see, he knew, and now thinking back on how he knew what was going to come in the future, and how this little season of relaxing was going to end very shortly. And now I was going to go into an incredible season of hard work, of trying times, of battling for the Lord, so to speak, of ministry, so many different great things. But this time, and I look back at it now, I thank God for it, because had I started that season then, I would have burnt out. I would have completely caved under the pressure and been burnt out. So I needed the time to rest. And that was a concept I had to understand, that God, I had a hard time of understanding what it meant to rest. So this was my rest season, even though I didn't understand that at the time. But nonetheless, on the outside, to other people, that makes no sense. You need to go get a job. You're done. How much more you need to sit around playing video games? Go get a job. And that's what's expected. So this is the first time in my life I was confronted with a dilemma within myself of not only resisting tradition, not only resisting what I felt I should do, but I was also confronted with not doing what people expected of me. And that was hard, because this is the first time I had made a decision as a man. And I was roughly about like 21, 22 around the time. But it was the first time I made a decision as a man to say, you know what? I'm not going to follow my family's way. I'm going to follow the way the Lord's telling me to go. And being a child, being under your family, and you may attest to it too, if you had a close, tight-knit family, or you had a good relationship with your family, or whatever your family dynamic looks like, it is hard when your whole life, if this is your story in this regard, if you've gotten used to going the flux of just doing things the way things are with your family, being close, and then all of a sudden to tether yourself off of your family, to go a different route than what your family's telling you to do and what they're expecting of you. That's hard. And see, in this situation, I was confronted with that, of go this way. And I did not know at the time the trial that was about to begin, the pain that was about to begin, the suffering that was about to begin, because of one decision I made, which was to follow and pursue God. I did not realize at that time the hell that was about to break loose for me. Not just on the outside, but internally, because of me. I made one decision, which was to say yes to God. And He said, don't chase after money, chase after me. So next week, we're going to be going a lot deeper. I'm going to break this open with real transparency about what transpired after that decision, and where all the trials, the persecution, the questioning, the trying times, the tears and the pain that came from that decision. But as you guys will see as we continue to move forward in these weeks, is that there is hope in the midst of it all. Thank you for watching.